Hello and welcome to Planet Pulse on Firstpost. The Earth is constantly changing, and in recent years, for the worse. Summers are getting hotter and winters harsher. Rising sea levels, floods, drought, wildfires, and torrential rain have been disrupting lives across continents. The fight against climate change is needed now more than ever. On this show, we bring you all the top stories on the climate crisis, its causes, its brutal effects, and the warriors helping to fight the menace. The sky, once a symbol of boundless freedom, is now feeling the weight of a warming planet. As climate change tightens its grip, even aircraft, a marvel of modern engineering, is being forced to adapt. From blistering runways to invisible turbulence in the skies, extreme heat is rewriting the rules of aviation. Planes take longer to lift off, engines strain, and passengers feel the ripple effects of delays, detours, and discomfort. The recent Dreamliner crash in India's Ahmedabad is a haunting reminder. The climate crisis isn't just grounded, it's airborne. So how are airlines responding? And what does this mean for the future of flight? Here's our report.
The skies are getting hotter, and that is not good news for planes. Last Thursday, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed shortly after takeoff in Ahmedabad. The temperature was over 38 degrees Celsius. Now, even though it was a tragic moment, it was also a warning sign. Extreme heat is now becoming a serious problem for aviation, and it is all connected to climate change. Let's break it down. Planes fly because of lift, and that happens when fast-moving air flows over the wings. But hot air is less dense, hence there are fewer molecules and less lift. And not just the lift, but the engines suffer too. Less dense air means less oxygen. That cuts engine power, and some planes might struggle to even leave the ground. In fact, humidity makes it worse, and so does altitude. Airports in high, hot regions face the toughest challenges, and sometimes the runway just isn't long enough. When it is too hot, airlines adapt, but passengers feel the heat. Flights get delayed, planes get lighter, passengers are offloaded, bags are left behind, and even fuel might be burnt off right on the tarmac. These are not just rare events. As a matter of fact, they're happening more often. Climate change doesn't just mess with departures, it is also changing what happens mid-air. The troposphere, which is the part of the atmosphere where the planes fly, is heating up, and that is triggering more clear air turbulence. Invisible, unpredictable, and dangerous. It hits suddenly. No warnings, no clouds, just violent shaking. Meaning more heat equals stronger jet streams. That can mean faster travel, but it also means wind shear, and wind shear means turbulence. Now, turbulence rarely brings planes down, but it injures passengers, especially those who are not buckled in. Don't panic, planes are built tough. Before flying commercially, every new aircraft is tested. In deserts, in ice, under extreme pressure, they are designed to withstand the worst and are built for the climate of the future. Still, no design is perfect. Some airports will always be tricky, especially hot ones with short runways. And it's not just the planes, heat affects the people too. On hot days, airport tarmacs become ovens. They reflect and trap the heat, and the ground crews suffer the most. Flight attendants, mechanics, baggage handlers, everyone on the ground feels it. It's uncomfortable and dangerous. Ironically, flying fuels this crisis. Jet travel accounts for about 3.5% of human-caused climate change, and it's a feedback loop. The more we fly, the more heat we trap. And the more heat we trap, the harder it becomes to fly. So what's next for air travel? Will aircraft change? Will airlines and airports adapt? Do passengers need to rethink when and where they fly? Are we heading for a future where flying feels less like freedom and more like a challenge? Buckle up, because the skies are changing.
Now let's shift our attention to Brazil. This is a country in South America. It is home to about 60% of the Amazon rainforest, and it has a long tussle with a choice between climate action and economic development. For years now, Brazil has championed climate action, but over time, its priorities have shifted. And months before it is set to host the Global Climate Conference, COP30, the hypocrisy is for all to see. Brazil wants oil companies to dive into the Amazon basin, specifically the sensitive region where the Amazon River meets the sea. This is hundreds of kilometers of coastal water. It is filled with oil reserves, and Brazil wants to auction oil exploration in the region. This has fueled global anger and has birthed a heated debate in the country. Here's a report.
North of Brazil, where the Amazon River meets the sea, a so-called doomsday auction is waiting to happen. This region is known as the equatorial margin. It represents hundreds of kilometers of coastal water. And the government of Brazil wants to dig deep into the oil reserves here. The reserves extend from the state of Rio Grande do Norte in the east to Amapá near the border with French Guiana. For months now, the Brazilian government has been doing their research. They've been trying to understand where and how much oil there is. And now, they want to stage an oil exploration auction. It will be conducted by Brazil's oil sector regulator ANP. It will auction the exploration rights to 172 oil and gas blocks spanning about 146,000 square kilometers. For context, this area is more than twice the size of Scotland. This is a highly sensitive area, but for fossil fuel companies, it is a promising new oil frontier. And for Brazil, it is the key to their plans of becoming the world's fourth largest oil producer.
The need to carry out oil exploration and production activities is clear, not just for Brazil, but for several countries that, like us, have a modern and developed industry in this segment, which is one of the main drivers of sustainable development.
But this move has stirred a massive debate. A wide range of groups is concerned, from environmental advocates to indigenous communities, federal prosecutors, and even oil workers' unions. People are worried. They want the bidding to be called off. They say that oil drilling at the mouth of the river will have adverse environmental and climate impacts, especially as there is inadequate research on just how severe the repercussions would be.
Of the 47 blocks at the mouth of the Amazon alone, 45 have not been analyzed anywhere, ever. So we're putting the Amazon coast at risk, which is a sensitive environment, important for biodiversity, important for traditional communities, without any environmental analysis.
This fight is not just for the indigenous people, but for the survival of humanity.
Burning of oil and gas from all 172 blocks in the region could release more than 11 billion tons of carbon dioxide. This is more than 6 years' worth of emissions from the country's agriculture sector. And this is not just a huge setback for global net zero goals, it is also hypocritical. Brazil's auction plans come a few months before it is set to host COP30. This is the Global Climate Conference, a summit where leaders from all over the world will meet in Brazil to discuss plans to fight climate change. And ironically, it is the host nation taking one step forward towards climate action and 10 steps backwards. President Lula da Silva has long positioned Brazil as a champion in the climate fight. But in recent months, he's also signaled support for fossil fuels, saying that oil revenue will bring economic development to the country. Clearly, Brazil is having a tough time choosing between saving the environment and making more money. And these contradictions are not hidden. But if Brazil goes ahead with the doomsday auction, it may as well be game over for their superficial climate bravado.
Just when you thought climate change couldn't get any more personal, it's now coming for your childhood heroes. That's right, Nemo is shrinking. Scientists say our favorite orange and white striped clownfish are literally downsizing to survive underwater heat waves. Forget gym memberships, these fish are embracing extreme minimalism just to stay alive. Here's a closer look at the climate crisis, told through the tiny fins and a whole lot of survival instinct.
In a world where climate change is turning up the heat literally, scientists have discovered that clownfish are responding to marine heat waves not by fleeing or fighting, but by shrinking. A research team from Newcastle University and the Mahonia Nadari Conservation and Research Centre tracked 134 clownfish, the orange and white striped kind that scream Nemo, off the coast of Papua New Guinea during a heat wave. About 101 of them downsized their bodies at least once during the study period.
Something started happening with the numbers of our measures that was very confusing. And we kept looking at our methods and everything was okay. And it turns out that these fish were actually shrinking. Now, this is something that was really surprising because most vertebrates go in one direction with their growth. They might stop growing at some point in their life.
So why the sudden seafood slim down? Experts say it might be about survival efficiency. Smaller fish need less food and oxygen, both of which are harder to come by when your home is basically sunbathing itself to death. With waters up to 4 degrees Celsius hotter than usual, the anemones get bleached, food gets scarce, and clownfish, well, they start their tropical juice cleanse. And it's not just solo shrinking. Breeding pairs of clownfish appear to coordinate their shrinkage, particularly the males who tactfully remain smaller than their female partners.
For anemone fish, for Nemos, the social environment is really important, just as important as their abiotic environment, so things like temperature. And their social environment is the other fish that they live with in the anemone.
In clownfish society, size isn't just vanity, it's hierarchy. The female is always the biggest boss fish, followed by her mate. And the rest of the gang waits patiently in the kiddie pool of social status. So when the heat's on, maintaining the pecking order requires synchronized shrinking. Relationship goals, but marine edition. Other species like marine iguanas in the Galapagos have also been caught shrinking under heat stress. But until now, coral reef fish weren't known to partake in this bizarre heat hack.
Our future research plans include going to the lab with the fish and really investigating these mechanisms. Is it the food availability? Is it the temperature itself? What drives the shrinking? And what are the hormonal profiles that come with all of this? So how does it actually happen in the body? And then another area of research that we're looking into is seeing which other species do it.
But before we call Nemo the climate superhero we never knew we needed, a word of caution. This shrinking trick is great for short-term survival, but no one knows how long they can keep it up. It's one thing to squeeze into your skinny jeans for an event. It's another to live in them forever. For now, we can marvel at nature's resilience and perhaps feel a bit guilty about our carbon footprints, because while we are still arguing over banning plastic straws, clownfish are downsizing their bodies to stay alive.
And that's it on Planet Pulse for today. We will see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.